What is going on, Tidal Tribe, Toilet Tribe? It's been so long since I've had to do an intro. I'm just kidding. I do them all the week. I just screwed that one up. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy George. We are doing the Mock Draft Lavatory. Jason and I dusted this thing off. We took it from the lavatory and said, let's bring this monster, this beast, this iconic thing back to life for redraft season. And that's exactly what we are doing. And as you can see, we are joined by our good friend Josh Bigby at Generally Aware. Josh, thank you for coming on. Rumor is you might be a familiar face on the show for the next couple of weeks, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Until then, let's start the show. All right. Welcome. We have started. I don't know if you're aware, but we started the draft, Jason.
No, I am fully aware. I do want to say, if that video doesn't get you pumped up for the season that's about to start, I don't know what will. I do want to mention also that you can join us at patreon.com/toilets to titles, and you can buy into our Patreon service. Go to toiletstitles.com for all our articles and videos. And hey, if you want to join rival.com/title tribe, we can you can totally get your first $200 matched. And if you use Title Tribe as the code or use that link I just mentioned, you get a $25 bonus. So join rival.com/title tribe, and we are off to the races here on the mock draft.
Yep, we are rolling. We are live. This is the first one of the season. We're still working out a little bit of the kinks, just because, let's face it, we haven't done one of these since last season. So there's still a little bit of kinks to be worked out here. But what are you thinking of the draft so far, Josh? Anything really kind of surprise you? I know you're on the clock right now.
I'm on the clock, and I know exactly what I'm taking. I guess I can believe he fell to me, but I'm very happy Bijan is still here. More and more as we see all these contracts and everything going on, disputes, he might be like the safest running back pick in the entire draft this year. And he seems like he's getting plenty of work and doing well with it in camp. I know it's camp videos, but come on, still. It's good to see him.
So
moves.
I strongly considered him at 1-2, believe it or not. I know that this is redraft. We're not doing Dynasty. It's full redraft, but it's your basic redraft league. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, a kicker, and I forced you to get a defense as well. But I strongly considered Bijan at 1-2. I couldn't overlook the fact that with it being full PPR, Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco, I still feel like he is the safest running back, even with all these contract issues that players are having. He just re-signed his contract last year when he got traded to San Fran, so he's good. He's a PPR monster. I was happy to get him at 1-2.
Yeah, he's definitely safe on the contract side of things, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So here's the thing. I am constantly surprised, and I know I shouldn't be this late in the offseason, by how many wide receivers go off the board in the first round. Now, I know that's kind of the trend this year, especially because running backs had such a down year last year. But I feel like as a fantasy society, we always swing way too far in one direction, and then the fantasy gods come in and force us to swing back the other way. And I think that's going to happen with a lot of these guys this upcoming season.
Yeah, I'm still a heavy RB drafter. I have somebody I'm hoping gets back to me at 211 here. So far, really, there's any surprises, Jason, for you so far through the first round? The first round was Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, Austin Eckler, Cooper Kupp, Travis Kelce at the 1-6, Tyreek Hill at 1-7, Bijan 1-8, CeeDee Lamb 1-9, Diggs at 1-10, Barkley at 1-11, and then AJ Brown at 1-12. Anything there kind of surprise you?
I mean, again, it's most for me because I'm a because I'm a running back guy. The wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, going at 1-9. You know, it's not a surprise because it's right around where his ADP is, but it just feels wrong to me to have somebody like CeeDee Lamb go ahead of the running backs like Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, those kind of things. So, and even to have somebody like Johnny Cage take Hill and Garrett Wilson back to back. So
yeah, it's a full PPR, so I understand that. There's no way that I would start back-to-back wide receivers like that, even though it's a full PPR. Just given the depth of the position, how deep it is, you know, I feel like I can get the wide receiver value later than you can these premium running backs. But, I mean, I understand why people want to go wide receiver. You don't have to worry about the injuries. It's just safe. What do you think, Josh?
Well, I was a little torn at my pick. It was kind of a little bit of no man's land there coming back around at the 205. We had someone reach on Mahomes already, so I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep pushing that, maybe get some other people to take some, but it seemed a little early for that for me for quarterbacks and one QB. I don't know. I went with Adams. I know there was some rumors about something with him, but he actually disputed that, so I felt like he was the last guy at his tier. Maybe Waddle, but yeah, still he was the last guy at his kind of tier one as far as volume in a PPR, and a little diversify again. With the running backs, there wasn't any more. Chubb I would have considered if he had made it to me, and somebody took Taylor there right in front of me. I don't know if they're following the news. I don't know what's going on with that. That's a crazy situation right now.
Yeah, I went with Najee Harris here. I love what Pittsburgh has done with their offensive line. They drafted an offensive lineman at number 10. They added Joe's favorite tight end, Washington. It's an extra lineman out there at the tight end position. Like, I absolutely love what Pittsburgh has been doing. I think, you know, there's really not a whole lot of people behind Najee Harris. People will talk about Jalen Warren all they want, but like the history of Pittsburgh, they only use one running back. Like they don't really split carries. Mike Tomlin, if he has a running back, he's using the running back, and he's going to use them a lot. So I think Najee Harris is a prime candidate for a third-year bounce back after having a down season last year. And now I'm on the clock again, and I'm debating between two specific running backs here. I'm not sure if I want to go with Travis Etienne or Jamar Gibbs. I haven't drafted any Jamar Gibbs thus far in any of my leagues, Dynasty or Redrafts. I know this is a mock, but I think that's the one I'm going to pull the trigger on just so I can get a little bit of Jamar Gibbs on my teams.
So I want to give a shout out real quick to Chris's videos. How you doing, Chris's videos? I also, Cali Trader says to put our names at the bottom of the screen. So I went ahead and put our faces at the bottom of the screen. So I went ahead and made a layout, and we're at the bottom.
I guess you can see the board a little better.
Give the fans what they want.
Exactly. I actually kind of like this. And, Callie Trader, while you're there watching, A, if you're in the draft, thank you. Let us know which team is yours, and B, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, would you?
Absolutely. So through the second round, just working from Nick Chubb to Pat Mahomes, Jonathan Taylor, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Derrick Henry, Jalen Waddle, Tony Pollard, Chris Olave, Harris, and Josh Jacobs went 2-12. So I'm going to ask you guys, who was the biggest surprise in round 2 for you guys?
For me, it's Pat Mahomes, right? Like, listen, I get you want to get the quarterback early, but in a one quarterback league, like, I don't want to take my quarterback early. There's so many prime position players available, people that can finish number 1 in their category. That really, the difference between Pat Mahomes in round 2 and, let's say, a Justin Herbert in round 5, I don't think there's going to be that much of a difference between the two. So for me, Pat Mahomes is sticking out like a sore thumb.
Josh?
Yeah, well, beyond that obvious, one QB, somebody was still in superflex mode maybe. I'm looking a little bit at Olave. I know that he's a really good wide receiver. I do expect him to get up into maybe wide receiver teens. But that's a big jump to get him. What is that, wide receiver like 10 or something? That's wide receiver 1 you just drafted there. I don't know, maybe he might be able
12.
to pull it off. We'll see how functional Michael Thomas is or not. I'm actually really interested in seeing and hearing more about that. I haven't seen much yet. I'm on the clock here, and I'm going to go ahead and take a chance here on another running back. DeAndre Swift, PPR. I think he's going to get involved in passing game a lot, so I'll take a chance there.
I mean, explosive running back on a good offense, not a bad thing to take a shot on. I will say, so I do like Olave this year. I do think he has a chance to be a wide receiver 1. The only thing here is I would have rather had, for me personally, I would have rather had Higgins. But he started with Chase, so I understand why you can't go Chase and Higgins.
Yeah.
But then he follows it up with Josh Allen.
So Josh Allen was an auto draft, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Well, that's unfortunate because now it's a long time before you can get a running back.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't hate Olave over Higgins, because at least with Olave you have a chance for him being the 1 on the team. Higgins is good, but he's the 2 unless Chase is injured. So I can understand that. And maybe you could just say, well, there's just not any other name, so he's the upside guy. But yeah, at that point, you just don't take a wide receiver then.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, I would take the 2 on the Bengals over the 1 with Derek Carr at the moment until I can see what Derek Carr does. And I know he's supported some pretty decent fantasy options previously, but Devontae Adams is easy to support, I would think.
Easy a target monster.
Yeah.
I want to go circle back real quick. Josh mentioned he wanted to see what Michael Thomas is going to do this year. And I'll tell you what, after being burned by Michael Thomas, not last year, not the year before that, or the year before that, like, that's just one guy I will not draft unless it's like super, super, super late. I have absolutely zero confidence that he'll even remain on the field.
Oh, I agree. I'm not even thinking about drafting him maybe at all, but it'll still be interesting to see if he plays, if he takes targets, and kind of depresses what Olave could do. And maybe even helps him.
There we go.
Yeah,
And,
I kind of figured that's what it did.
You need to defend yourself here, Josh.
Hey, he's well, I'm on the clock too, so I also got to think about that. But basically with Swift, I would not be taking him in the 3rd in a dynasty, but this isn't dynasty, Randy. This is redraft. They traded for him. They've got Rashad Penny, and he'll be good till like week 4 or something. But in the meantime, they've got Swift, and this is PPR. He's getting involved in the passing game. I'm going to take another shot on just a high upside. I think running back here. I think it's my best option unless I wanted to start going quarterback, but still too early for me. I think Dobbins could be ready to finally do something in the NFL.
So let me recap real quick because we've got in the third Mark Andrews, Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Allen, T. Higgins, Ramondre Stevenson, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, Calvin Ridley, Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker, and Aaron Jones. Now, my favorite pick from that round is Aaron Jones. I think he's in for a big year with them reducing their pass load because Jordan Love is taking over. If I had to say my least favorite pick of that, I mean, I guess I could say Swift and really pile on Josh. I think it's Calvin Ridley. Look, he's good. Looked good in the few videos we've seen of him from camp, except I did just watch one where he was getting blanketed by a Jaguars DB. He looked good in the route. We saw him run next to Zay Jones. So he looked good there, but man, a guy out of football for 2 years in the third round is tough for me.
I don't think Swift would have been there in the 5th, 7th round. If Dameon Pierce and Dobbins is going, Sanders, he's right there with Sanders. He definitely wouldn't have gone before Sanders. And meanwhile, you've got Walker, who's injured, going right after. I did have Aaron Jones in my queue right after Swift. That's who I was kind of picking between.
Well, I think people are going to still take Walker even though he's injured because it's so early in the camp that people think he'll be ready. There's nothing to indicate he won't be ready by the start of the season unless I've missed something today.
Yeah, you still got the Charbonnet issue, so that's not gone away either.
Well, kinda. He's injured too.
Well, they can both be injured. That's good for them.
That's good for the Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I like that pick, George. I was thinking about him, but I wanted to grab Dobbins instead. Amari Cooper.
So
under the radar.
I wasn't really planning on taking Cooper there. I was hoping to get one of 4 players. Johnny Cage 1 took Keenan Allen. PJ, I can't even pronounce that name. PJ HOFE07. He took DK Metcalf. I am the Walrus took Deebo Samuel. And then AG So Real took TJ Hawkinson, who is, by the way, that is my guy this year, TJ Hawkinson. That's the one guy I want to leave every draft with. So kind of sucks he went 2 spots before me, but I was looking at one of those 4. I was really hoping to get one of the wide receivers just as I could get somebody who I felt had the potential to finish as a wide receiver 1. But yeah, no, I ended up with Cooper. And I don't hate Amari Cooper. I just would have preferred DK Metcalf or Keenan Allen.
So I made, on our show last night live, I made a bathroom board bet. I bold prediction am saying that Elijah Moore will outscore Amari Cooper this year.
I don't know why the auto draft is selecting quarterbacks for everybody. I guess it's because we've done so many of these as a super flex, like the quarterbacks are all pushed up right now. But yeah, listen, I need to see something from Elijah Moore before I can get on that bandwagon of he's actually going to do something. I don't believe it. Let's just put it that way.
The guy's got elite talent. It was underutilized where he played in New York. But I think he was in the top 12, if I remember right, in separation rate. And he just never got the ball or didn't get catchable balls. Like, he's got the skill set, is all I'm saying. So I think he can be great this year. And I'm taking him in pretty much everywhere I can get my hands on him. I'm not saying he's free, but he's pretty damn close to cheap.
Yeah, no, and I get that. And I honestly, I don't hate it, right? I'm one of those guys where I need to see it. Unless you come out of college with elite talent, like I need to see you do something before I can get on board of saying, okay, you'll be better than somebody who's had multiple seasons at over 1,000 yards receiving. and is slotted as the wide receiver one on their team right now. I don't foresee that happening. I need to see it in order for me to believe it.
Yeah, he wasn't enough of a prospect for me to go out on a limb. I know he flashed a little bit, but it's a very small sample of like 2-3 games.
Yep.
And yeah, I think Amari still got some in the tank, and Watson and him they were doing all right together. Let's see. I was considering if I was gonna go early quarterback, it would have been Herbert or Burrow. Thankfully, somebody made sure I didn't have that option. So thank you so much for taking Johnny Cage. Thank you. So now I got to decide. I think I'm going to start reaching here a little bit, make some picks to get Jason angry at me, maybe.
I don't get angry.
Oh, okay.
I'll
I think
address
you'll like
this.
this one, actually. You know what? You'll like this one.
I'll address this one real quick. Randy, no, you're not getting Swift in the 5th through the 7th round. His ADP is nowhere near that right now.
So, no, I like Chris Godwin as a pick.
Of course you do.
Well, I mean, look,
I told you,
I'm as far from a homer on the fantasy in fantasy as they get. I typically avoid Buccaneers. I do think Godwin. I think both Mike Evans and Godwin are going later than they should. But
I'll agree with that.
Especially Mike Evans, who goes. I mean, it depends on the draft, but I've seen him as far as the 9th round. I think that's crazy for a guy who's been 1,000 yards every year. But real quick before we lose track, in the 4th round, Dameon Pierce, Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, Keenan Allen, D.K. Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, T.J. Hawkinson, Miles Sanders, Amari Cooper, and Terry McLaurin went in the 4th. In the 5th, we've got Justin Fields, DeAndre Hopkins to George, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Herbert, Cook, Drake London, Joe Burrow, Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Moore, and then we're on the 11th pick. And then after with Christian Watson, and then after this pick, guys, I want you guys, aside from your teams, of course, with Alexander Madison going next, aside from your teams, of course, I want you to tell me who through the 5th round is your favorite team. And I'm going to start with George.
So right now, I really do like, and it's all predicate on Breece Hall being able to start the season. If he can start the season healthy, I really like PJ HOFE07 picking from the 6th spot. You get the number 1 tight end, which is going to give you a positional advantage basically all year long. Derrick Henry and Breece Hall, fantastic 1-2 punch at running back. And then Metcalf and Drake London at wide receiver. I absolutely love that.
And Josh, who's your favorite?
I mean, it's hard to say. I kind of liked what Oduar there at the 12th spot was doing up until this turn, and he took Madison and Pittman. He was good until then.
It sounds like is that because you don't like those picks, or it's because you wanted those picks?
No, I'm just not excited about Madison at all. Not at all. And Pittman is just kind of whatever, blah. It's not a terrible pick there at the turn, to be honest. It's mostly just Madison. I mean, I'm not even ruling out Cook going back. I don't know what's going on with Cook. I don't think he's going to Miami, and I know, George, you were all over that. But
he's going to Miami. I'm telling you, he's going to Miami. He's using the Jets as
I'm going to take a reach. Maybe it's a reach here. I don't think it's going to be in hindsight. I think he's going to just destroy this year. I mean, obviously he has to stay healthy, but there's no other tight end in a Kelsey-like situation with anywhere near Kelsey ability than Darren Waller. There's no other wide receivers.
He's been absolutely lighting it up in camp right now. And I know I get it's camp. Don't get me wrong. I totally get that. But
that's good. He's healthy.
He's healthy. He's out there. And Daniel Jones, I was listening to a podcast earlier today, and they said that they had to take Waller off the field so Daniel Jones would target somebody else.
Yep,
So,
that's what I'm talking about.
He's going to feast. I was hoping to get him actually a little bit later. So I will say great pick.
So I was gonna say I Am the Walrus was my favorite right up until he took Alvin Kamara, who I'm not that high on this year. But so
No, I
short
like
of
it even
that,
better now.
short of that, Cup, Waddle, Stevenson, Debo, Cook, and Kamara. You know, if you have to start two wide receivers, starting Cup and Waddle is pretty dang good, considering Cup is like the highest points per game of any player over the last several years
Yep.
when he's on the field, obviously. And then Waddle was a superstar last year, and if Tua stays healthy, even higher this year. Now, Cooks, obviously, it's going to be up to where he lands, right? New York may not be a great spot for him, but if it's Miami, it is good. Hopefully, it's not New England because that would just ruin all of us. But like I said, Kamara,
it would ruin all the Ramondre.
Especially I Am the Walrus. It would ruin.
Oh yeah,
he's
for
got
sure.
Stevenson.
Yeah, that would not be great. But he doesn't have a visit there. He's just been in talks with them. So, be interesting to see where he finally does land because people are drafting him in the fourth, fifth, sixth round, like he's going to go somewhere okay. And you could either be super happy or you're going to be real miserable here shortly.
So I made a mistake with my last pick, and it wasn't a mistake as in I drafted the wrong player. It was a rookie mistake. I didn't look to see who Mr. Jonesy 515 had already drafted. They had already drafted a tight end in Mark Andrews. So the odds of them going George Kittle at this pick were very, very low. So I should have waited till the next pick to get George Kittle in the 7th, which is just a long-winded way for me to say pay attention to the draft board because you could probably get a little bit player value if somebody else has already got a position that you're looking at.
Yeah, I used to write some articles going into the season, kind of looking at those kind of things of where you are in your positions. And
Yep.
yeah, that spot right next to the turn, you can really, if you know what you're doing, you can really mess with the person on the turn by paying attention to stuff like that. And you can also, consistently take who they want.
So I wanted Kittle there. I wanted to get Waller later, but I'm just knowing that if Brock Purdy is the starter in San Francisco, like all he did was pepper George Kittle with targets, and I was more than happy to bet that the Brock Purdy is going to be the quarterback in San Francisco to start the year. So I'm absolutely down with some Kittle. And then I'm going to go Deontay Johnson, who is somebody who I want to target in a lot of my drafts. It just the actual drafts we've done, he hasn't fallen to me. He's gone before I thought he would get drafted, which means I'm either not as high on him as I should be, or there are people higher on him than I am. But I absolutely think Deontay Johnson is due for a huge bounce back this year. I mean, he was like 5th in targets across the entire NFL last year. Then the only reason he didn't have a great year is because his quarterback only threw 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up again, but he just needed something like 5 or 6 touchdowns to get him into the top 16 wide receivers or something like that in PPR. And that's the only reason he wasn't.
And we all know touchdowns are fluky. So I'm not expecting him to go another year with no touchdowns. I think that will be corrected.
Yeah, he was definitely a guy I was looking at.
All right, in the 6th round, we had Michael Pittman, Mike Evans, James Conner, Javonte Williams, Darren Waller, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Christian Kirk, Alvin Kamara, Mike Williams, Cam Akers, which probably hurt George's heart a little bit, George Kittle, Tyler Lockett. Let's do favorite picks, least favorite picks from round 6, and I'm going to go with George.
So the Cam Akers thing, normally I would say yes, it broke my heart, but I started out with 3 running backs, so I I feel like I'm okay at that position. And I don't think I would have taken Cam Akers over George Kittle or Deontay Johnson. With that said, the pick I'm least favorite of in the 6th round, I think I'm going to have to go Jackson Smith and Jigba. And it's not that I don't like Jackson Smith and Jigba. Don't get me wrong, I do. I like him a lot more in Dynasty than I do in Redraft. He's a great talent, great wide receiver, but he's not going to come in and immediately leapfrog both DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Like, that's just not happening. I hate to tell you that. It's not happening. And so I think spending a 6th round pick on him in a redraft league, that's just not something I can get on board with.
I absolutely agree. He's got 2 wide receiver ones ahead of him. I never understood that pick. I guess, Seattle's going to do what they're going to do, but it didn't seem to make sense to me.
I like it long-term for Seattle. Don't get me wrong. And I think it, like, if it does anything, it boosts the value of Geno Smith. Like, I loved Geno Smith this year. The fact that he was a top 8 quarterback last year in 6 point per passing touchdowns. And the only thing they did in Seattle is they went out and got him a better receiving back who's also injured at the moment. But hopefully by the start of the season, they'll be completely healthy. But they went out and got him a receiving back in the 2nd round. And then they added Jackson Smith and Jigba in the 1st round. Like, the only thing they said is, Geno, here, you had a great year last year. Let me give you more weapons. So I absolutely love Geno Smith, but I don't think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to have this huge impact as a rookie, knowing he's got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf ahead of him.
All right, so round 7's in the books. Rashad White, Deontay Johnson, Dallas Goedert, James Cook, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Trevor Lawrence. Finally, another quarterback off the board. George Pickens, David Montgomery, Kyle Pitts, Jahan Dotson, Cortland Sutton, and Evan Ingram are off the board. I'm going to start with this round. I think, I liked Deontay Johnson, but it'd be a homer if I called out your team. So looking at the board, I'm a Jahan Dotson guy. I'm not going to lie. I think he had a very good rookie season. He was a 1st-round talent. Injury sidelined him a bit. Had, 4 touchdowns in something like 6 weeks. Was open a lot. That quarterback situation kind of sucks, but I think, he showed that he could be on the field with a bad quarterback last year and make the most of it. So I really do like Jahan Dotson in the 7th round. Josh, I know you probably like David Montgomery because you took him.
Yeah. I was looking at the running backs, and he's like the last running back 2 I liked. And my next target, made it back to me. So the gamble
Played
worked.
the game well.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to start reaching on some high upside guys here. I'm going Quentin Johnson.
what makes you like David Montgomery?
He's not Gibbs, and I have no idea how Gibbs is going to go. We saw what that offense and how they can lean on running back with Jamal Williams last year, how they can use a big guy like Jamal Williams. I'm not saying he is Jamal Williams, but I don't think he's much I don't see how he can be worse, at least for this year. And it's going to really depend on Jahmyr Gibbs. That pick could end up being worthless, and it could end up winning me the league.
No, for sure. Like, he is a former 1,000-yard rusher. So, former 3-down back for Chicago. So, no, he's definitely got the skill set. That's for sure. I just didn't know why you liked him. I just wanted to know. Just want to know, Josh.
It's just Gibbs insurance because I really don't know what to think about him. Like, he seems so exciting, but it just it's going to be really out there for them to rely on him as a rookie and his size and everything. So we'll see. He could be a little mini CMC. That could be great. But you know what? Montgomery could still get some touchdowns even then.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, so last year, if you watch the Lions, look, a freakish amount of times they got stopped on long plays within the 5-yard line. And it's like every time you turned around, they were down inside, the 5-10 yard line.
I had a lot of Jamal Williams.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like Jamal Williams, just looking it up, had 29 attempts inside the red zone last year. But a lot of those, and I don't have it right in front of me at the moment because I was looking for it and then I started talking and said a lot of those were inside the 5, inside the 2. I mean, it was just crazy. He had 29 attempts for 34 yards. So he gained a great 1.2 yards per attempt, but still has 12 touchdowns. So that'll tell you exactly how many of those were inside the 5, inside the 2. He just it was such a freakish thing last year. So I don't know. I like David Montgomery because he could be the Jamal Williams, but I don't know if Lightning's going to strike twice and give any running back that many attempts inside the red zone, especially inside the 5.
Well, I think Montgomery is certainly more capable as a regular down running back. He's not going to have to rely just on the end zone, red zone rushes like Jamal Williams did. And so, again, it's really going to come down to how they use Gibbs. And I really do see that being a 1A, 1B kind of situation until and if Gibbs really proves to be special.
So I went with Khalil Herbert at 8'11" for running back for Chicago. And I'm not really sure what to think of that running back room right now. So
are you going to double tap here or what?
I absolutely am. That's where I was going. It's a large reach on Roshan according to ADP, but in the 9th round, I'm not going to follow the ADP. If I want to get my guy, I'm just going to go ahead and draft him and get my guy. And I love what I've seen from Roshan in college. It's not his fault. He was stuck behind some guy named Bijan for most of his career. He's still a very talented running back. And like I said, I'm not sure what to make of that running back room in Chicago. So I'm just going to double tap the 2 Bears running backs and say, okay, hopefully I locked up that running back room.
Yeah, you just traded an 8th and a 9th for a 4th.
Yeah, basically.
All right, well, while you guys were talking, we got through the 8th round. So we'll read it out here. So it started with Treylon Burks, a guy I've been pounding the table for all offseason. Michael Thomas, Pat Freiermuth, Rashad Penny, Quentin Johnson. Sorry. Yep. Isaiah Pacheco, Samaje Perine, Jordan Addison, A.J. Dillon, Antonio Gibson, Herbert, and Zach Charbonnet. I like Burks. I like him even with DeAndre Hopkins there. It's a low passing offense. I get it, but now Burks doesn't have to take on the number 1 corner anymore. The coverage will shade towards Hopkins, and that'll leave Burks open more often. There'll be more valuable targets, in my opinion. So I'm still a big fan of Burks, especially in the 8th round. We've already seen how fast Addison can go. I like that pick too. Josh?
Yeah, I liked Burks too. It was really between Burks at Quentin Johnston and Addison for me. What we've been seeing, I think Johnston's going to take over that Mike Williams kind of role. By the looks of it, he's really producing. So a lot of upside touchdowns and everything there on a high upside offense. Addison, he's right there behind, right for me. And earlier in the off season, he was actually ahead of Johnston for me. But I really don't like what the recent news says about Addison, and hopefully he can get his head together. But he was being a little silly.
I think that speeding ticket will have absolutely no impact on him whatsoever.
No, I don't think it's going to have an impact on him, but it's what does that tell me about him to begin with? It's not that it's changing anything. It's just
Yeah,
revealing something.
it reveals to me that he is a. By the way, did you mean to? There you go. It just tells me, hey, he got paid and he's got this fast car and he made a stupid mistake, and luckily nobody got hurt and hopefully he doesn't do it again. But I don't think it transitions to on the field. I still think knowing that the Vikings, and I know you're not a vacated targets guy, but that they had over 150 vacated targets between Adam Thielen and Delvin Cook. And while I'm not saying Jordan Addison's going to fill right in and get all of those targets, I do think that him coming in, they're being opposite of Justin Jefferson, that he will be highly targeted.
Yeah, he's going to get work, but we'll see. I wouldn't count out Osborne yet, and there's been some interesting long-term kind of tracking of interview kind of scores and so on, and that they actually correlate pretty well with success. And Addison had some of the worst kind of interview results, and then this happens, and that just kind of again reinforced that popped back into my head again. And so it's more about what it's revealing and not so much about what it's going to change.
Yeah, no, I get it. And listen, I mean, the good thing for Quentin Johnson is, as much as I love Keenan Allen, anybody who knows me knows I'm a Keenan Allen guy. Like, I absolutely love Keenan Allen. I think he's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the entire NFL. The man gets no respect. When you talk about best route runners and best hands, like, his name is not even brought up, and it's such disrespect. But unfortunately, you've got him and Mike Williams, who they just never stay healthy. Like, they're always nicked up, they're always banged up. You can pencil them in to miss 2 or 3 games throughout the year. And in the 8th round, getting a guy like Addison, like, he's going to have an opportunity to be the 2 or even probably the 1 at some point throughout the season.
All right, well, we're going to catch up here with the 9th round. Brandon Cooks, Roshan Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney, Brian Robinson, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, A-Chain, Jamison Williams, Deshaun Watson goes off the board, Gabe Davis, and then Daniel Jones. To me, the most surprising pick in this round was Deshaun Watson going to in Vega, who already has Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I get it if you're not in love with any of the other position players, but you've already got a quarterback, so taking another one in the 9th, probably early. I guess you could do worse than Deshaun Watson as a second quarterback, but
I kind of low-key like setting the 2 quarterbacks aside, right? I kind of like that team, though. Diggs, Mixon, Devonta Smith, DJ Moore, James Conner, who I feel is very underrated this year. Like, that dude is going to get all the opportunity in the world. And then you already professed your love for Dotson. Freiermuth is just a target monster at tight end for the Steelers. And then Jeff Wilson is sneaky. As of right now, like, I still expect Dalvin Cook to sign with Miami. But if he doesn't, like, Jeff Wilson, if healthy, is going to have a role in that backfield. And getting a role player in the 10th round, it's not a bad team. I kind of like this team.
So my only real issue with it is it's light on running backs for me. We're running back guys, so like,
if for
Connor's night.
If they would have taken like Taylor or Henry or Pollard or Harris or any of those guys where they took Mahomes, like, I would absolutely say this is by far one of my favorite teams in the whole board.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. It looks like we lost Team 7.
That's all right.
But that's okay. They can auto draft. It won't be that bad. We're almost through the 10th round, so auto draft in the 10th round. Look, I'm a big fan. The team that you named, PJH, I don't know how to pronounce, PJ Hall of Fame EO7. I don't know how to pronounce any of that. Kelsey, Derrick Henry. Now, Brees Hall's not my favorite. I would have probably rather had, I don't know, Aaron Jones. DK Metcalf, Drake London, Christian Kirk, Trevor Lawrence, Samaje Perine, Elijah Moore, and then Mitchell. Like, I am a big fan of all of that, especially, in 10th round. Now, if Invega had taken Mitchell, I probably would have been happier with it for his team, just because we've seen CMC get hurt kind of often. So having Elijah Mitchell, who was fantasy relevant even when CMC was on the field last year, like, I like him in the 10th round.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're talking in the chat here about Addison that said he was speeding because his dog was dying, and I'll tell you what, C2 the Master, I absolutely would be speeding if my dog was dying. I'm not gonna mince words. I absolutely would be.
Yeah, okay, but I'm also not. I'm not also an NFL player who stands to lose millions of dollars if I screw up in that situation. So, like, I love my dog dearly, but I'm not losing millions for him.
No, I also. So two things can be true at the same time. I love my dog dearly, and I would be speeding if it's dying. But I'm also not going to risk millions if my dog is dying. So, I went with Jerick McKinnon here for the 10-11. And I end up getting McKinnon in almost every draft just because I love him in a PPR. Like, he's clearly the receiving back for Kansas City. And looking at my team, like, I didn't have anybody on Kansas City. And I felt like he was one of the last pieces that would provide any type of fantasy value for Kansas City still on the board.
Well, I've got to tell you, George, you're in desperate need of some wide receivers.
You think?
I do.
I got Cooper, I got Hopkins, I got Johnson. I'm good.
Hey, KJ Osborne's there.
Vacated targets and whatnot.
I've got wide receivers pulled up right now. I'm just looking at them.
That was for you, Josh, by the way.
I may have made a misstep. I was debating between A-Chain and Zay Flowers, and I kind of wonder if maybe I should have gone Zay Flowers, but I don't know. I was kind of go for upside, but they're both upside, so I'm not sure. I'm not really liking a lot of the wide receivers that are out there, so I know what you're looking at, George, and it's not great.
Nope. So I'm looking at quarterback here, and this is why I like to wait on the quarterbacks, because you still got like Dak Prescott, Tua Tagovailoa, Anthony Richardson, who I will not be drafting in a redraft league, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith, like, still tons of good quarterbacks on there. But I already said how much I love Geno Smith, so I'm going to go ahead and take him here.
Man, so you like Geno, and I got to do the 10th round, but you like Geno over somebody like Tua, huh?
I like them both, and I'm willing to bet I could probably get Tua on the way back if I wanted him.
All right, so we're going to do
Dak.
the 10th round.
Oh, easily over Dak. Hey, I'll be right back.
All right, we're going to do the 10th round real quick while George goes away. Zay Flowers, Greg Dulcich, Jeff Wilson, Rashad Bateman, Alan Lazard, Jamal Williams, so many J. Williams on the board, Elijah Mitchell, D. Harris, Jacoby Myers, Sky Moore, Jerick McKinnon, and then Odell Beckham Jr. off the board at 10-12. So, and then I Am the Walrus says, no, you will not get Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not going to try and say his name again because it's late and I'm tired. Yeah. So George is not getting him on the way back, which is okay because he's got Geno Smith.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. So
the last one without a quarterback now.
You are in Team 7. Just took Dak.
Shucks.
As an auto draft.
No, I don't. Well, I don't need to take a quarterback now because everyone else has one, so I can just wait a little longer.
Well, I wonder if
The one,
Team 7 will auto draft a third one.
whoever I want, I know I can get later. So I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna play. I don't know. It's not looking great, but I'll take an upside on this guy. Maybe his speed will finally come through on Rondale Moore. I know Brown's there, but it's pretty much that's it. It doesn't need to necessarily be Kyler. It can be anyone thrown to him.
Yeah, and I'd be willing to bet that Kyler's back sooner than we all think.
I do too, but he hasn't been picked yet. So,
Oh, sorry. Well, look, I also don't think anybody's going to actually take him because,
yeah,
the real fear is he's got to be out 4 to 6 weeks. He starts on the pup, so he's out 6 weeks, and then they're 0-6. And why would you bring him back for that? Like,
yeah, and I understand fear. That's in redraft. That's going to be a real concern. I've been getting him. I got him in Scott Fish Bowl pretty late, just because the upside. If he does come back and does really play. He could be putting up points, especially in that kind of league. But yeah, I get it. There's a number of quarterbacks that just could be top 12 quarterbacks, and we only need 12 of them though. So it's this happens in one QB all the time, where you think like, oh, I want whatever, Lamar Jackson and Hurts, and yeah, I was looking at Hurts and maybe Jackson in that round if they'd come to me back in the fourth. I was thinking about it. And I was thinking about it again in the sixth, but every time it just, you can just push it back, and I'm looking at who's there and I'm like, I'm fine with one of these guys.
Look, it's always tempting to play that streaming game too, right? Because there's always quarterbacks that have really juicy matchups, like bad quarterbacks that have good matchups. That
been doing that a long time.
So we got Rich, the Frito Bandito himself, jumping on to say, hey, fellas. And he said, don't worry about me being in that same league together anymore. So I guess you were worried about Rich being in the league with you at some point.
Oh, did they bump him to a different Frankensteak division or something?
They must have. Must have. So we'll go through the 11th round. Rashee Rice, Geno Smith, Tank Bigsby, Tyler Boyd, Tua Tagovailoa, Devin Singletary, Dak Prescott, Rondale Moore. Sorry, I clicked something and now everything's in the way. Adam Thielen, Mostert, Jalen Warren, and then the San Francisco 49ers defense went off the board because George picked defense and kicker, which is not something I would have done for one of these. But, guys, if you are watching this, tell me, does your league still do defense and kicker? Because I'm only in one league, which is a home league every year, that actually still has both of those, and what I wouldn't give to get rid of them.
Yeah, I went Nico Collins here. I do like the little bit of upside there. He's shown out a little bit here and there, and with a real quarterback, I don't know, there's a chance. Yeah, my main league that does a live draft, we still do have kickers and defenses, and I've been trying to push that a little bit, but at this point, it's just part of the charm of it, and it is what it is. It's only a 1 quarter. It's all your normal kind of. It's not like it's standard or anything. It's PPR, but yeah, it is what it is, and that's, you just kind of have to enjoy it. Probably, I'd rather do. I think I'd rather do defenses than kickers myself. I know that some people say there's more to the kickers, but to me, it's more fun trying to play matchups for the defenses. So, yeah, everyone's a little different. When I've brought that up, other people again said the opposite, and so some people would rather have the kickers, and others want the defenses, and so we just keep them both.
Well, so it's funny because I like in that league we finally they actually decided to go Superflex, which was cool because getting a home league in the Superflex is incredible. But they're like, but why would we get rid of kickers? And it's like, because who knows what they're going to give you week in and week out. I will say Greg Zerline helped me win a championship a few years ago in that league. It's the one kicker I've ever held through a bye week. So, but he was scoring me double-digit points every week, so kept him. But
Yeah.
not. So I guess you know what? Screw it, keep him. Helps
Yeah,
me
when you
keep
get
him.
one on a hot streak, it's like it's great, but it's so hard. And I'm a little annoyed that the Scott Fishbowl has been pushing the kickers lately and last couple of years, and it's like that's cute and all, but it's I don't know, I'm not on board.
Well, it also. So the reason I'm not a fan of it in the Scott Fishbowl is just because it's not equal between the two formats.
Yeah, that's
If
a whole different issue.
if I could keep them and play exactly the same in sleeper as everybody's doing in MFL, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. But it's the fact that like I'm looking on the waiver wire for some scrub to start if I get some injuries. While guys on MFL are just going to pick up a second kicker that's probably going to get you double-digit points because there's video game points for kickers.
Mm-hmm.
So then the overall total in
Total
points,
points.
which is how it's judged in the end, will swing to that guy's favor. And
Yeah.
even if I find a diamond in the rough wide receiver that nobody knows about, he probably still scored less points than than the kicker that somebody picked up that week. So another quarterback goes off the board, Kirk Cousins.
And Richardson before that. So
did George auto draft?
I don't know. I was kind of looking at Higbee as a kind of a backup tight end, so a good pick by him, I think.
Good auto draft, George.
Yeah, good auto. Yeah, we definitely get an auto here. I don't know. His green dot's flashing, but I don't know if he wanted Elliott or not. Maybe he did. There've been rumors for Elliott to the Patriots recently, which could be interesting.
Well, like if you don't get Dalvin Cook, that's it's a good consolation prize, I guess. All right, so we're gonna do the 12th round here. I can't read the guy on 12. So, Keandre Miller, yeah. Hunter Renfrow, Mingo, the Eagles defense, Nico Collins to you, Dalton Schultz, auto drafted, Mooney, Chig Nkonkwo, Tyler Algier, who I really like, and we can talk about in a minute, Anthony Richardson, Tyler Higbee, and then Kirk Cousins. Algier was a 1,000-yard rusher last year, and I know Bijan is a stud, but I don't know if they go completely away from Algier this year, especially because we've seen rookies hit walls late in the season. So why wouldn't you spell somebody like Bijan with Algier here and there to keep him fresh?
So I think they'll use Algier. I mean, he is coming off a 1,000-yard season last year, but listen, you don't draft a running back in the top 8 picks and not just use them, and that's exactly what they're going to do with Bijan.
Caleb Huntley, when healthy, was better than Algier, so I'm not really worried about it. I think I am going to finally take my quarterback here. I am the Walrus. Baby's listening in, trying to snipe me on Kyler, but actually, it all along was Russell Wilson.
That's the answer to a whole lot of questions of like, who's a quarterback you shouldn't be taking?
No, who's the late round quarterback who was like the QB 8 over the last 6 weeks or something? It's Russell Wilson. People are asking, oh, is he going to bounce back? He already did. And that quarterback, that whole staff is gone. It's Sean Payton. He's a year in the system with these receivers. He'll be fine back to doing Russell Wilson stuff. Not top 3, not top 5. QB 6, 7, 8. I'll take it.
That's bold. That's bold. So I'm assuming you guys were besmirching defenses at some point.
Yeah, been there, done that. Yeah,
And
kickers while we were at it,
We threw in kickers too.
Yeah, no. The only reason I ask is because like while I was away, the chat in the draft exploded with redraft yes, Dynasty no, yes we do, and a few of them yes we do. Like they're saying, yes, we need these, or we draft with these, or we play with
No,
those. And I'm like,
I asked how many people still played with defense and kicker.
okay, so we have to get out of that mindset that people don't play with kickers and defense. Like it's if you're on Twitter a lot, like we are, Jason, and I say a lot, but like you're still a part of the fantasy community, even though you're really not on Twitter a whole lot. But like we're just a small microcosm of fantasy football in general. Like you know it, and I know it. A large majority of the leagues still play with kickers. They still play with defense. As much as we would like to get rid of them and see them gone, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm not. I mean, if that's what your league does, that's fine. It's tough because it's. I don't know. There's not a ton of skill to picking a kicker besides eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Jason, we play in a league with kickers and defense, I believe.
I talked about it and how we actually convinced them to finally do Superflex, and I hate that we kept kickers and defense. Like
we tried. So remember, we tried to convince them to move the Superflex, and instead we voted mandatory tight end.
Yeah, we were actually in a league that didn't require a tight end, and then they reinstated needing a tight end, and that's fine. I actually like playing with the tight end and needing a tight end.
I don't know how that worked. Like we were specifically saying, let's add a quarterback, and they're like, no, but let's make tight end mandatory.
Yeah. Not my favorite. All right, we're going to go through round 13. Ezekiel Elliott, Evan Hall, Dalton Kincaid, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, sniping Josh, who played it off real well, Zamir White, Devonta Foreman, Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, Raheed Shaheed, Gus Edwards, and I can't read the name, Sam Laporta. There we go.
Samuel Laporta.
I got to say, my favorite pick there is Rashid Shaheed. Fast guy, high upside. And it's the 13th round, so if it doesn't work out, you can throw him away.
Yeah, but Derek Carr can't throw it deep to him anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. I was just about to say that. My favorite pick of that round is actually Evan Hall, because if they place Jonathan Taylor on the non-contact injury list for his back, like the owner said that they were going to, like depending on when he comes off that thing and depending on what's going on with Jonathan Taylor, like Evan Hall is a sneaky pick in late rounds that could return some pretty high value.
Well, also, I like Zamir White in this round
for the same reason
with Josh Jacobs. The only thing I'm going to say with Josh Jacobs is, this is probably his last year in Oakland, so there's nothing saying they're not going to run him into the ground again. So why play Zamir White? Not if Josh Jacobs does come back, Zamir White might not see the field.
Yeah, this is true. And the same thing can probably be said with Evan Hall. So it's one of those things where I'll take a late round flyer. It could be something. It could be nothing. I don't really know. We'll just play it out and let's see where it takes us. But it's one of those things where I didn't mind it. I don't mind taking a flyer on him this late.
Gus might be the sneakiest one in that round. At least he may not have the peaks.
Yeah.
Gus Edwards, yeah, he may not have the peaks, but you're getting the most points overall out of him.
Well, and with J.K. Dobbins, being a bit grumpy about his contract situation as well. All these running backs seemingly have some issues.
He's got nothing to.
He didn't have a leg to stand on, is what you're saying?
Yeah, or a knee.
Yeah.
I did draft him though, so I'll go Dobbins.
I'm not going to go through the 14th round because it's mostly kickers and defenses.
That's fine. I'll go through the 14th
except
round.
for my excellent Gerald Everett pick. Come on.
I was going to say no. So I was going to mention the non-kickers and defenses. So Cole Kmet, who just got a nice contract, somewhere about $1 million per catch from last season. Gerald Everett, and then Romeo Doubs, who a lot of hype last year. and has fallen down in the 14th round. It's a potential
He had some-
upside there.
He had a couple decent games last year, but it was very inconsistent.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember calling to sell him for as much as you possibly could, right going into that, and got a little bit of flack on that on the Twitter X or whatever we're calling it now. It was Twitter at the time, so I guess what to say Twitter.
We're calling it X, and then if you slide into somebody's DMs, you're sliding into their DMXs.
I don't know about that one. All right, so I'm looking at this. I'm trying to decide whether I want to take another kind of backup tight end because there's one really good one who I kind of gambled that would still be here. Or I could take another shot on a wide receiver, but I think I'm going to go with this guy. I think, have we all forgot about Tunyon already? And with Garrett Wilson a little beat up, I really like Tyler Conklin. He keeps proving people wrong. It's like 3 years in a row now where he's outperformed what everyone thought he would do. So
the only problem with that is I'm going to throw out the ever reliable Aaron Rodgers doesn't use his tight end.
Like I said, have we forgot about Tunyon already?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess you did. You don't
Yeah,
remember
we
that?
did. No. I don't remember Bob
I
Tunyon.
just who is Aaron Rodgers really good at throwing touchdowns, right? Who is he throwing touchdowns to?
And on the
Garrett
Jets
Wilson.
team?
Garrett
No.
Wilson.
Garrett
no,
Wilson and his ankle? And his bad ankle?
Oh, he'll be fine to start the season. On the Jets, he's going to throw him to Brees Hall. He's going to throw him to Garrett Wilson, and you just know they didn't bring in Alan Lazard and they didn't bring in Randall Cobb just to take up space. They're also going to get some business there.
Yeah, those guys were never touchdown guys either, though.
How dare you?
With Rodgers.
How dare you not bring up my man crush, Corey Davis? I'm kidding.
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's still there for now.
Is.
So I do want to bring up, and
Yeah.
thank you for bringing this up. Keeper League Superflex PPR on pick 12 and 13. Who should I keep? Jamar in the 2nd round, Deshaun Watson in the 10th round, Calvin Ridley in the 15th. Personally, I'm taking Deshaun Watson in the 10th, but y'all decide there, because in a Superflex, it pushes a lot of talent. A lot of running back and wide receiver talent down in the 2nd round. I think there's going to be a lot there, although with keepers, you never know. There's going to be a lot of talent still in that 2nd round. You know who's not going to be there anywhere near the 10th? A quarterback that has the upside Deshaun Watson has.
Yeah, that's probably overall the best pick value-wise. I know it being in keeper leagues, Georgie, too, you kind of really got to know who else is able to be kept and at what picks. So is there a high likelihood a lot of other quarterbacks will also be kept late, or are a lot of them going to be front loaded in the early rounds? So you've got to keep tabs on the other teams a lot more in those kind of keeper leagues. So either way, it's probably hard. I mean, whatever the other teams are doing, Watson in the 10th is just your safest bet.
That's where I went immediately. Like, I love Jamar Chase. I like the value he's getting on Calvin Ridley in the 15th. But, man, Deshaun Watson in the 10th, like, I want that. Please give me Deshaun Watson in the 10th. I expect him to have a very big bounce back this year. So the rust is gone. He's going to get the whole offseason program. 2nd year in this system, like, I'm expecting him to 100% bounce back and be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. And if you're telling me you're getting a top 10 fantasy quarterback in the 10th round in a super flex, man, you're way ahead of the curve.
So guys,
are you saying I should have taken Donovan Peoples-Jones over Conklin then?
I would have.
Because that was my other option.
I would have. I absolutely would have.
He's been getting forgotten a lot lately. I know they did draft somebody. I can't even remember who now.
Jeremy Ruckert.
Um,
Last year they drafted a tight end, Jeremy Ruckert.
no, it was wide receiver this year, not a super
Oh,
high one, but
Guys,
but
I do have to say, I am looking over these teams. I want to mention that I do love the troll ending that I Am the Walrus came up with, because George was like, "Oh, I'll take Tua when he comes back around," and then I Am the Walrus takes him,
that's fine.
and then
Listen,
Josh, and then
if you look
and
at
then Josh,
if you look at his team though, like it wasn't really a troll thing because
now wait a minute though,
that's
because
his
you didn't let
first
me finish.
that's
You
his
didn't let
first
me
quarterback.
finish. So you didn't let me finish there because it might not have been a troll taking Tua, but then after after Josh was like, "Oh, that's fine. I'll take Kyler Murray when he comes back to me." No, you won't, because I Am the Walrus went ahead and took him too.
So the one thing I love is like Tua at 11.5, and now he stacked him with Jalen Waddle, who he drafted at 2.8. So I love that. Like I like this team as long as Cook doesn't sign with New England. Like I really do like I Am the Walrus' team. Um, Jason, you said you were looking over the teams. Which one is your favorite?
Um, I mean, I Am the Walrus is probably my favorite. But since we just talked about him, the second best is and I can't say his name, but with Kelsey, first overall. I like Henry, Brees Hall if he's healthy, but then you follow it up with DK, London, and Kirk, three upside guys. I do like the value of Trevor in the seventh. Samaje Perine, I think, is going to get a lot of run. Elijah Moore, I've already talked about him. Elijah Mitchell, we've talked about. Singletary, I like. People are on Pierce, but Singletary's not a bad back. Zamir White is a good potential handcuff for a guy who may not play. And then, kicker and defense being what it is. I like that team a lot. How about you, Josh?
other than my own,
Well, yeah, obviously.
I do think 5 years deep kind of pulled that off a little bit. A little early on the Hurts, but that's okay. It's a high upside gamble. Got the running backs, and then focused on wide receivers. I'm not sure they are all the wide receivers I would have taken, but he filled up the roster, and overall is looking all right. I'm not so, I'm looking at it now, and actually he's not very good at tight end, so he'll have to look. But that's okay. That's one position you can stream. He can pick up some of these other guys that get dropped or who start going off when other teams need other players and they drop these guys that they got late, like I did.
If you're taking your tight end at the 10th round, you're planning on streaming from that point forward.
Yep.
Right? Like so I don't hate it. I'm not a big fan of Hurts where they took him. Like I said, I like drafting my quarterbacks a lot later, but I understand the appeal of Hurts. Potentially can finish as the number one rushing quarterback in the NFL for fantasy this year, and we all love our rushing quarterbacks. But I do like that team overall. The only thing I probably would have changed is like where they took Hunter Renfrow in the 12th round. Like I probably would have taken one of these other higher end backup running backs or handcuff running backs just to have on my team, because like you've got Christian Watson, Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, Michael Thomas, Gabe Davis. The odds you ever start Hunter Renfrow are extremely, extremely low. So I probably would have tried to handcuff one of my other running backs, either Barkley or Chubb with their handcuff late, or I would have gone after somebody else's handcuff late. Like I would have gone with an Algier, an Evan Hull, a Zeke Elliott, a Zamir White. Somebody that just has the opportunity to where if somebody goes down ahead of them, they possess some kind of value. But outside of that, I agree, Josh. I do like 5 years deep.
So I would love it a whole lot more. I mean, to me, the real issue, the issue I have with it is, Michael Thomas is a complete question mark on health. You don't know if you're going to get anything from him. Gabe Davis, per game last year, not so great. Cortland Sutton, again, giant question mark. He didn't have a great last year. Christian Watson, is a guy I like. Mike Evans is a guy I like. I'd love this team with Devontae Smith on it instead of Jalen Hurts and then, a Tua or Deshaun Watson later somewhere. You take Deshaun Watson. You take Deshaun Watson where they took Michael Thomas instead. I like this team a whole lot more.
Or even like the rent. So let's say they take Devonta Smith, where they took Hurts, right?
Yep.
And then you come down where they took Hunter Renfrow, and you look at the quarterbacks that went after that: Anthony Richardson, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Jared Goff. Like you put any of those quarterbacks right there, and this team hands down walks away with, on paper, probably the best team here.
Now, I'm going to defend him a little bit on the Hurts pick because I feel like if you're waiting that long on wide receiver, he stuck with his high ground. He went with the running backs. He has a top group, and now he can solidify having a top quarterback. I like that. If he didn't overdraft at wide receiver and try to catch up. He just said, you know what, that's fine. I'm going to take a guy who's going to be a top 3 quarterback, and I'm going to be set, and I'm going to be good. So I defend that. Again, I like the structure. I don't necessarily agree with all the individual wide receiver picks, like you said, too, Jason. But no, those first 4 picks are pretty nice.
Well, look, for a guy who took quarterback early, he did very well. You know what I mean?
Right. He committed to it and played it out well.
Yep, absolutely. All right, George, is that...
That's it, dude. We're pushing an hour and 15 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Josh, appreciate you coming on. I want to thank everybody who joined us this evening for the Mock Draft Lavatory. Hey, let's move back up here. There we go.
Welcome back.
We're back. I want to thank everybody who joined us for the Mock Draft Lavatory. We're going to be doing these every Monday night at 9:30. Next week, we're going to ramp it up a little bit more. We're going to be doing 2 drafts at one time instead of 1. So we'll be able to flip back and forth and get a little bit more detail and whatnot. I just want to thank, again, everybody for joining us. Jason, thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Josh, again, thank you for hanging out with us. And remember, have a good evening and do good.